What's up, guys? Welcome to Bipolar Boxing. We got Canelo versus Crawford this weekend. Let's get into the breakdown. Before I start this video, I got to give an acknowledgement. My baby sister, right over here, passed away when she was 19 years old. Today, she would have been 32 years old. 9/11, 1993 was her birthday. And it's been tough on the family, and it's been really tough on me the last 13 years. And I kind of use boxing as an escape, as a distraction. And thank God every week we got some sort of fights that I could sit there and watch. And tonight we got a big one. So there's a lot of distractions this week. And to be honest, I needed it. So let's get into Canelo versus Crawford. My buddy sent me a text the other day, and I'm the boxing guy in the group. And he just said, who do you think's going to win? And who you got for the big fight, blah blah blah. And I just trolling him text. I troll the kid all the time, and I just trolled him back, and I just said, I just hope both guys have fun. And there's a joke in there, obviously, but there's a lot of truth to that. I freaking love both of these guys. I kind of hate it when these guys fight each other. Like, to be honest, like if it were up to me, like I never wanted to see Mayweather Pacquiao because somebody had to win the fight. It's something that you wish you would see. Like when I first saw Manny Pacquiao on the undercard of I think it was Fernando Vargas versus Winky Wright. That was his first fight in the USA, and I saw him, and I think it might have been Ladwaba or something like that, but he put a fucking hurting on Ladwaba, and I was like, oh my god, this might be the guy to take over Floyd. Like I remember when Prince Nassim had his run, and then I first saw Marco Antonio Barrera, and I was like, this is the guy that's going to end his run. So I'm always looking for those guys who can kind of take down the top guy. And man, when you saw Manny Pacquiao, you were like, might be the guy. And then, when Mayweather was at his run, I saw Canelo on when he fought Jose Miguel Cotto, and I was like, holy shit. Like, I saw the way he was built, his back and everything, even at that young age. And I was like, this guy is going to be a problem in, a couple of weight classes up because he ain't going to be here for that long, but he's going to be a problem. And he's right around that Floyd Mayweather range. So he could be a guy to keep an eye on. And now this fight, it's happening a little bit past its time because Crawford's 38 years old. He's not an old 38. He's a very young 38 in boxing years. Canelo's a little bit of an older 36, but but it's that fight where Canelo is kind of the guy for this generation who everybody's going to remember. And if Bud beats him, he will become that guy. Like it's not like when Bivol beat Canelo, he didn't get that much of a jump. Crawford will get a fucking jump if he beats Canelo in this fight and then just retires at 42-0 or whatever it is with a win over Canelo. That's all you need. You can pick apart his weak resume, and I'm one of those guys. Like I've picked apart his weak resume at time, and it is what it is. But I also like I'm an eye test guy, so ultimately what it comes down to me is all these guys that you're saying maybe he could have fought with boots and stuff like that. I still think he would have beat those guys. So I don't really care that he didn't fight him really because he would have beat him. He would have beat him anyways. And now he's fighting Canelo, so all that boot shit goes right out the window. You can't call him he ducked boots and went on to fight Canelo. You can't call him a duck for taking a tougher fight 3 weight classes up. So I got no problems with Crawford. That's just the one thing. If people are asking me to compare him to all time greats, I'll point at his resume. But um, but anyways, like going into this fight, I know people are saying that Canelo is, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this past week lost a step when talking about Canelo. Obviously he's lost a step because he's older, but I don't think it's to the extent that these people are saying. Like they're looking at the William Skull fight and they're like, he almost lost to William Skull. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He just didn't dominate as much as we thought he would. That's just because of the way William Skull fought. I always say in almost all my videos, like, do not blame don't blame a boring fight on winner. Blame it on the loser. The way William Skull fought, he did not try to win. He tried to score points where he could, but there's no way in hell he thought in his head that they were going to give him a decision for fighting like that. He did it to survive and say he went 12 rounds. And so people can say, and rightfully so, that Canelo struggled with him. When I didn't see that. I don't know. I watched the fight. Canelo's winning the whole time. He's not taking chances. I'll give you that. He doesn't need to take chances. Like, do I sit here and watch a game on Sunday and get mad because the team's only up by 3 at the end of the game and they just run out the clock at the end of the game? Why don't they try to throw for a touchdown? They could have beat them by more. They could have been more dominant. No, you're just trying to win the game. And especially in boxing where you could lose your life taking that risk, just try to win the fight. I got no problem with guys trying to win the fight. I don't care about how boring these guys are. I care that they're great and they're winning. I don't want to see how great your chin is. You shouldn't be getting hit in this sport if you're at the top level. It's the whole point of this sport. So I just think with Canelo, it's more of a strategy thing than a skill thing. People are saying his skills dropped off. I think it's more of a strategy thing, and I think he can turn it up against anybody. So just like he barely beat William Skull, I believe he can barely beat Terence Crawford, even though Crawford is obviously better than William Skull. But that's why I learned a long time ago, you don't do boxing math. It never works out. It only works out when you want it to work out and you forget about adding other elements in. That's the only time it works out. So these people that are like, stats and numbers never lie. Yeah, they never do because you only bring up one or two. Meanwhile, there's 10 out there on the other side saying the exact opposite of what you're saying. So anybody that tries to tell you about stats and they go back to like the 50s and 60s with their stats before these people that are fighting tonight were even born and has nothing to do with, I don't want to hear those stats. They mean absolutely nothing. Canelo is a strategy driven guy. He's become more smart after the Floyd Mayweather fight, and he's not taking risks anymore. He's just trying to win and keep that aura around him now. He's gone through trying to go up and challenge tougher fighters and everything, and it just didn't work out for him. He probably felt the loss from Mayweather and Bivol and said, "I ain't going through that shit again. I'm just winning. People can sit there and pick me apart or whatever, but I'm just gonna win the fight." And that's what I think he's doing. And so for the X's and O's in this fight, like the way I see the fight happening is I see Canelo walking him down pretty much the whole fight. Except for when by strategy, he doesn't want to walk him down, and maybe he will try and back up, see if Crawford will make a mistake. But I think he's smart enough to know how intelligent of a fighter Terence Crawford is that I don't think he'll let Terence Crawford get on the front foot and take that risk because Crawford's not going to make a mistake. You're going to be sitting there waiting for him to make a mistake, and then you're going to be down 10 rounds, having to knock him out in the 11th and 12th round. And that's not a good strategy. So get on the front foot. And what this fight's going to come down to, in my opinion, is how the judges are going to judge Canelo's punches on the arm and shoulder versus a clean, like, jab landed from Crawford. That's what I think the bulk of the punches in this fight from each fighter are going to be. Crawford's jab and Canelo's punches, but they're not going to land clean. They're going to land on the arm or something like that. And when Canelo's coming forward, when Canelo's the A side, when Canelo's in Vegas, he's I they're gonna give him the decision. That's just the way I see it happening. It sucks that I got to sit here and talk about the politics of boxing for a preview fight. Like, why do I think this guy is gonna beat this guy? Maybe it just is what it is. I don't see them giving Crawford a decision. And the way I see the fight going, Crawford's going to be on his back foot. How the hell is he going to get a decision unless he completely embarrasses Canelo off of his back foot? But then I look at like this Crawford. I know Crawford's got power. I don't. It'll carry up to 160, and I believe that. Just not against a guy like Canelo. I just don't think he's going to have enough to hold him off. I honestly think that when this fight's done, my scorecard will say Crawford, but I'm going to bet Canelo, and Canelo's going to get the decision. I think it's going to be a draw or like 115, 113 for Crawford on my card, but Canelo's going to win, and there's going to be some whacked out 118, 110 scorecard or something like that. it's just the way I see it. Like I said, it sucks that we got to bring politics into this, but the fact of the matter is, you know, what are Turkey's plans for Crawford after this? Probably ain't much. Like, what's gonna go down and fight Boots? Like, there's no reason to do that. Crawford's probably gonna retire after this fight, rightfully so, win or lose. There's nothing else for him to do. Um, but Canelo wins this fight. I know he's got Canelo for another like two fights. Hamza Shiraz and like maybe the winner of Billy Martinez. Those two fights are like set up right there. So, like I said, I hate bringing up like future plans when I'm trying to preview this fight, but it is what it is. When this fight's done, there's gonna be a lot of people, in my opinion, saying that Crawford won the fight, and I don't think he's gonna get the decision. And it might even deter some people away from our sport because the worst thing that can happen for boxing is like Canelo Triple G1, where all the eyes were on our sport because it's a big fight, and these people that watch other sports and just watch boxing for the big fights, they don't know a lot about our sport. They don't know how to score a fight. They don't know the criteria for judging or anything, but they can sit there and watch and see and then just say that guy won that fight. They might not know what they're talking about, but they make up a bigger percentage of the crowd than hardcore boxing fans for this fight. There's going to be more casuals watching this fight than hardcore boxing fans. There ain't enough of us. And when they get that in their mind that they see Crawford win and then he doesn't get the decision, it sucks for boxing. And it's kind of been like that for a while. People that don't watch boxing or watch two or three fights a year, they tell me the sport's dead and whatever. Because they're only watching those three fights and they're watching that stupid Tank Davis fight. Like, oh, this is boxing. This is ridiculous. It's like, dude, that's the only fight that happens in all year. You're just not watching all the others, but that's the consensus, and that's just what it is. I mean, perception is reality. It is. And but that's how I see the fight going. I don't see him giving Crawford a decision. I think Crawford's way not way more, but he's definitely more skilled than Canelo is. The size isn't really a difference. Um, Canelo's obviously got more power, and Canelo has a different skill set, I will say. Because like I'm worried, like, I mean, if Canelo cracks him, I mean, Canelo might just sit there and walk in with that high guard and just literally wait for not even throw a punch and just wait for Crawford to throw and then just throw with him. I mean, that might not be a bad strategy. Whatever he throws, have a counter for it and just counter and throw with him. Take two or three punches to land one. They'll give you the decision that way because his punches are going to be more effective. They're not going to be as clean. But they're going to be more effective. And like I said, I think Canelo's going to be walking forward the whole fight. I don't see how they give Crawford this decision unless Crawford is constantly embarrassing him. But the one thing I want to bring out about Crawford, and this is another reason I'm picking Canelo, is he's a defensively sound fighter with power, a great counterpuncher. He doesn't have the best feet, or he doesn't use them as much as I would like him to. He does switch stances and stuff like that. That's great, but he's not like a mover on his feet that much that I think like I don't think he can just hitter pat Canelo and then get away from him, and then Canelo constantly getting frustrated and having to reset. That's Crawford. That's a path to victory for him. I just don't see it happening. That's another thing. I always talk about paths to victory in this fight. Crawford's got one, and that's going to be a really, to me, a back foot decision. Those are hard to win in boxing. You know who they're even harder to win against? A guy like Canelo. You're fighting Canelo, you're fighting the judges, you're fighting Vegas. You got to look at you're fighting Turkey Al Sheed. Like I don't like to bring intangibles into the fight, but for this one, you have to because we're all going to be looking there at the end of the fight when if Canelo gets the decision and being like, I think Crawford won that fight. But then you're going to say, I knew Canelo was going to give him the decision. So if you're a gambling man, put it on that. Bet with your head, not your heart. But that's all I got. Let me know who you guys think's gonna win, and let me know who you think. Like, if Crawford wins, does he retire? If he loses, does he retire? Who does Canelo fight next? I think it would be Shiraz, and then probably like the winner of Billy if he gets through Shiraz. the winner of and Billy Martinez, and I'll probably do a video for those two fights. But I like Christian and Billy a lot in that Lester Martinez fight. I've seen Martinez fight a few times, but my thing is I'm not taking anything into consideration with Lester Martinez. I'm just looking at Christian and Billy, and the guy has been a wrecking ball. And there's things that I'm waiting for to get exposed. They might get exposed in this fight, but until they get exposed, I'm not betting against this guy, especially if he's under a 2-1. I'm just not betting against him. I'm not betting against him until he fights like Diego Pacheco, Xander Zayas, uh, Canelo, obviously, Hamza Shiraz, maybe. But until he fights somebody like that, I think Lester Martinez is a little bit level just below them. And Billy's right in the middle there. We don't know what level he is, but I think he's just a little bit above Martinez. And yeah, I'll do videos for all the undercards. But you guys have a good night and enjoy the fights on Saturday night.